Wholeness, welcome to Notes of Silver Tree. I have my handy dandy notebook here full of creative ideas and discussions to share with you all. Today we're going to talk about singlehood. Whoop whoop to my singletons out there. Shout out to you. Strengthening and building your community. As I am getting older and in my early middle age self, I have come to the conclusion, especially when I reflect back on all my travels in the past decade of my life, I will say it is critical. It is crucial, if anything. I woke up one morning watching a video of a young girl. I think she's probably in her late 20s. Maybe she's like 29 or 30 years old. I'm not quite sure, but she's I think in her she's a young adult, but she travels. She's a traveler. She's got 1.78 million people or subscribers following her on her YouTube channel, and she's done really well for herself. I think National Geographic took her out to Iceland, so I'm gonna watch that clip too. But she's really inspirational. I love watching her stuff, and she's out there by herself. Okay, when I say wilderness, like she goes out, and she has a doggy. She has a dog, a puppy, and so that's her companion on the road, and then she's got her Jeep, and she's got her gear, and she lives life. Well, recently I hadn't tapped into her videos in a while, but it came up on the feed, and I'm like, oh, what's going on with her? And it said that she was having to deliberate if she was having to see if she would have to leave her land, her property permanently, because she started to have a stalker issue. And here's the thing, how she had it set up was she bought a plot of land somewhere in the countryside of Poland. I think it's her country, her home country. And anyway, she bought this plot of land, and it was very, 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 very remote. Okay, and so she parked her car. I mean, it was so remote that she would have to hike to her car to get to her car. She had to go down this little path to get to her vehicle. Well, because she makes YouTube videos and she uploads a lot of her information online, and people use the drones to do these wide, big, aerial shots, which are very beautiful. The more information that you put out about yourself online, right, that you make it that much more accessible for very unstable, mentally unstable people to, if they have the means and they have the willpower, to find you and come hunt you down. Okay? And that's what happened. So she had, and I don't know if this was an ongoing problem, because she set up cameras in the trees. Okay? And so she shows a clip of the man, and the words to her was, "Oh wow, I finally found you. I finally found you." She's completely by herself, and her setup was like this beautiful teepee on this wooden deck. I mean, she'll come out and there's fog or mist, over the valley or the ridge, and it was gorgeous, gorgeous place to live. But can you imagine being a female, being a woman? Maybe a few number of people know where you're at. Your car is way down the road, down a path, and then there's a whole dude, right, who shows up on your property. And I don't know the gun laws in Poland, okay? I know Europe, they're very strict with it. In the US, we carry here, okay? But in the US it's different, okay? You don't just show up randomly on someone's property like that, because you might catch a few bullets. I'm just saying, okay? Um, but there she was freaked out. I think the guy left, and so she stopped and made a video. And I could tell as she was making the video, the sun was going down, it was getting darker and darker and darker, and I'm like, oh my God. So she finally, it was nighttime. She goes, I don't feel safe sleeping out here on my property. I gotta go back and walk down in my car and sleep in my car. Bro. She walked all the way back to her car, because you don't know, because the guy was still out there. So She walked all the way down to her car, got into her car with her puppy, and stayed and just slept in the car. And everyone in the comments was saying, you hope you checked your car for like, because there's like a air tracker thing now people will put on people's car to follow them, and it's really creepy. But anyway, I digress, right? Because I have a relative of mine, and they live out in the country, in the boonies. And here's the thing. This is why I'm stressing this, especially to my singleton, my independent men and women out there. You know, some of you, I think, have mentioned that you live out in the countryside and you have acres of land, blah, blah, blah. Great. That's awesome. That's beautiful. I too have had experiences where I lived very remotely, but here's the kicker. You want to have community. Community is an asset to minimize the probability of incoming danger and people that mean you harm. Okay? Um, I lived out in New Mexico with a family, and they lived very in the high desert, okay, like 7,000 feet above sea level. Um, and it was like if your car broke down and you tried to call for help or for someone to come get, you can try to get someone to oh god, what's the thing called, um I'm having a brain fart right now, but to pick up your car and take it in, okay, and the chances of your phone not working, okay, was high, right? If you didn't have Verizon, which I didn't, but if you didn't have Verizon and you're trying to make a phone call out, like it was hard. It was like that. And so everyone knew it was a small community. I think there was maybe one, two, three, four other families in the area. There's a rancher, there are a couple of ranchers out there who had cattle, but everything was spread out. It would take you at least 10 minutes to get to someone's house or bang on their door if you needed it. We had, I don't know if it was mountain lions or not. I'm not quite sure because a lot of the chickens will get ate up. But anyway, my point was, and my point is in this video, really, if anything, if you want to live remotely, if you want to live in the countryside, you want to get away from it all, you have to be open to still nurture. You want to be open to people who have similar values, right? I mean, that's always important, but at the same time, you got to have community. You have to have that type of support system where you know that, okay, if I blow a tire or if I'm dealing with a stalker issue, if I'm ran out of food, if there's an emergency, if my pipes are frozen, if I need sugar or salt, you can go to your nearest neighbor and they can help you. And because what I'm seeing online is you have so many people, glorifying this off-grid life, right? Like living off-grid, living on homesteads on their own, and or just just a couple, a man and a woman, out there in the boonies, roughing and toughing it. And it's like the reason why we're here is that our ancestors and the people who came before us had community. They had villages. Villages are made up of extended family members who connect with other large families, other extended family members, right? You have your nuclear, right? The parents, you have the mother, the father, the children. Then you have aunts and uncles and cousins, grandparents, great grandparents. That's a whole extended family right there. And then that whole extended family gathers with other families, and that creates a village. A village is self-sustaining. You have that support, you have that protection, you have that familiarity, and you have that foundational value, right? And most of the time that was bound by religion, okay, and political value and political affiliation. But villages were less reliant on the government, because they were growing their own food. They had their own ways of healing, right? The village doctor, right? Until the government came in and began to split all that up, and the government introduced this practice called career. And the career ruined family. I'm just gotta say it. The career ruined family. It ruined village. Okay, it made people. It became a status symbol. It is a status symbol now in modern society to have a career and be single and to be child free. Okay, my personal choices, remaining child free and single, it just fits my lifestyle. Um, so my point is, even as someone who's fiercely independent and who's someone who's, all about sovereignty and autonomy, I'm not stupid. And I'm not calling anybody out there stupid, but I'm not. I know the power of having, the importance of having community. And what does that look like, right? What does that look like for you? Is it an urban community setting? Is it rural community setting? I'm more pulled towards rural than anything else. There are pros to cons to everything, to all kinds of lifestyles, but again, being mindful of being heartful of the importance of building that for you and strengthening that. You know what I'm saying? It was so weird. Um, Last Thursday, Thanksgiving, or the Thursday before last, on Thanksgiving, I visited with my very dear friend of mine for many years, and her and her husband are both physicians, and her sisters came in to visit. She comes from a very large family. Anyway, we were talking about the probability of like creating a village, like creating a community based where we all pitch in to purchase land and then we build little homes, like not so much where we're like smack right next to each other, but just give it's a neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? But we all are supporting each other. We all give each other space, the space that we need, to function individually, but also to function communally. And given I'm in education, there are doctors, and everyone's in various different fields. It was just a really different. It was a very very interesting conversation, and it is just an idea we're talking about. It's not something that I don't believe, that they would put into or try to manifest, but that's the type of an ideal situation I find myself. I used to believe in, oh, it would just be awesome if I had my own little cabin in the woods and it's just me, this, little woman living in the cabin in the woods all by myself. It's idealistic, but it's not realistic. And especially with my adventures out west with wildlife and the reality, I'm sorry, you need a good truck. You probably need a weapon, okay? And you need community, and you'll be okay. You know what I'm saying? But you need to know people, because to say that you got it down and no one can touch you and you're untouchable. I will say, my experience living out in the countryside in the US in different regions, that's that you're calling in an ego death, okay? You will be humbled. And so during COVID and during my travels during that time, and I all I can say all I can say is that for my single people out there, follow your interests, invest in your interests, and understand and understand the importance of connection. Okay? There are true, and I don't believe in antisocial. I just believe people who say they're antisocial, I think they're just naturally introverted and they don't have the what would deem as normal, social skills or whatnot. But I don't even believe in that. I just believe that they struggle with finding other people who share the same values as they do. Because to me, you know, antisocial is like you're a social path. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that people who naturally don't gravitate towards huge social gatherings, It's just your personality. I don't think it's a flaw. I don't think any. You still need people, right? You still need people. My, it's. I used to have a fear of people for a long time, um, until I grew out of that, and I noticed I'm like, oh, if I take the time to identify my values, my principles, my intentions, what's important to me, what's not important to me, what my likes and dislikes are, and I'm solid on that in time, and I invest in my interests, you're going to meet like-minded and like-hearted people. It's You just are. But if you don't use your single time, your singleness, your singlehood to discover these parts of yourself, your values, your attributes, what you bring to the table, your flaws, your weaknesses, your strengths, if you don't know what those are, yeah, you're going to feel antisocial. Yeah, you're going to feel insecure when you're around other people. You must, like, that's one of the most pivotal um, and most powerful pros of being single is that you have the time to review and to recalibrate yourself so that when you have opportunities, social opportunities, you know where you stand, and you're strong enough to say no and not feel bad about it, and you're strong enough to say yes and not feel bad about it. Be who you are, but it takes time to identify who you are. And so use your singlehood as a time to identify your inner who you are, where you stand, your values, whether that's political, religious, spiritual, social, economic, creative, like your creativity, financial, it doesn't matter. Identify what those are so that you can, when the opportunity comes, you can say, "Oh, you're perfect and I'm perfect, and let's connect." Because a lot of the time, people I've noticed who are single for a really long time, whether that's a few years or a few decades, I don't know your life, but and they are in their own space for a really long time, they distract themselves, right? Either with other people's drama, with superficial, materialistic crap, right? They just kind of escape themselves. They still run away from themselves. When you stop running away from yourself, when you completely embrace aloneness and you identify your definition of isolation and solitude, loneliness, and what that is and where you fit with that, it's just new things and your tribe will find you, right? Change your vibe, you'll find your tribe. That's how I choose to look at this. So, I don't think, it's a good thing to be alone and to handle, and because being single and being it increases your fortitude, your mental fortitude, your psychological fortitude, because you know how you think. You know how you feel, you know how you process. So when people come with BS and they come with drama and they come with all these weird psychological quips and quibbles to distract you, you know exactly what it is. You're not thrown off, okay? And you can just be like, okay, she ain't it, he ain't it, or she's perfect, or he's perfect, okay? So we're not meant to suffer and get through all this, alone. Like in a very, you know, um, I'm bad all by myself. I can do this all by. We can't do it all by ourselves. That's just so ridiculous, and that's a very strong belief for many Black women. And I say that as a Black woman, it is a strong, like, I can be bad all by myself. That needs to die. I'm sorry. Like, yes, you can do it all by yourself, but it to me, that phrase and that way of thinking has a very toxic message and a very toxic frequency. To me, when I hear I can be bad all by myself, I don't need no man, I don't need you, I don't need anybody, that just screams wounded inner child. That just screams I was abandoned and I was hurt and now I'm going to keep me all to myself and I don't want to deal with anybody. And being alone in that type of space, you're isolating yourself from yourself. You're isolating yourself from blessings and gifts, and you're isolating from a very broken, fragmented space. I don't want to be bad. I want to be good. I want to be good all by myself. Okay? Because, you know, in African American dialect, bad is good. Like, ooh, she bad. Like, she's good, you know? Um, I love how we talk. It's like, it's weird. But my point is, connect to your humanness and don't, and refrain from disconnecting to your humanity. Because singletons can be very, when you're, I can tell when like a singleton is actively healing. I can, because that was me last year. I was, you know, we're always healing and whatever, so that's another thing. But it's like last year, you know, I was in a very different. I was single but hurt, and when you are working through and mending those old wounds, and you have a scar, right? And you, I'm in a completely different mindset than I was last year. You know, like I don't want anything to do with anyone. Ugh, I'm hurt. Leave me alone. And it's like now I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm okay. But you will respect my boundaries and you will respect my energy. I stand on business and love. And I love myself enough to stand on my business. You know, and that's a completely different space than compared to being single and you're hurt and you don't want anything to do with community. You know what I'm saying? And even and still you have to be careful when you're strengthening and building a community, because people are people. They're multifaceted, highly complex. They got a lot of ish going on, and they put on the best they put their best foot forward, and they wear the best, most beautiful mask you can imagine. So time is the best way to use your discernment, to be honest. Especially to my most sensitive souls out there, my most sensitive inputs. Time is your friend. Um, so yeah, may this message find you well and whole. And you know, yeah, I don't believe in social. It's that to me, it's just like, okay, if someone's like, I'm antisocial, I don't like going out. You know, you just either lack social skills because you don't really know yourself. When you know yourself, you know who to, you know who to connect with, and you know who not to connect with, right? Because when you know yourself, you know, oh, my energy belongs here, or ooh, my energy does not belong here. But so be very careful when using the term antisocial. And yeah, sometimes sometimes you do need to be completely alone. Just really very little human interaction. I've been in that space. I've been in that space where I'm just like, let I leave. I don't want to talk. I don't want to engage. Right? Um so yeah, it's I would say, yeah, use your singlehood to figure your shit out. you you figure it out, because if you don't figure this out, you don't figure that out, yeah, you're going to be lonely. You're going to be in a relationship and feel lonely. You're going to be in a career and feel lonely. You're going to be you're going to be in a crowded room and you're going to feel completely lonely. That loneliness is the you inside you screaming out for you. That's what loneliness is. Thank you.